G'day and welcome to the Ball Boys AFL Fantasy Podcast. Today we're going to go through round 12 trade targets, captains, answer your questions, all while having a beer. Let's go!
Just done it from nowhere. Pointed the goal from inside the field. Sheed from the boundary. Dusty. Petty. Petrarca. Oh, wow. How good is that? The legend becomes immortal.
G'day and welcome again to the Ball Boys AFL Fantasy Podcast. I'm your host, Mitch Casey, and you can find me on Twitter at Ball Boys Fantasy, joined on a Friday afternoon, sinking back some beers. Luke Rojo, how are you, mate?
Mate, I'm always good on a Friday. I've got my fun shirt on today. It's the buy rounds. I'm showing a bit of chest
Oh,
hair.
jeez. All right.
It's getting spicy.
Button down.
Ready,
All right.
Ready to go, mate. We're ready to go.
Now, we had someone when we sent out the tweet of this show that, you know, you have to be wearing a Miami Heat jersey. Now, you don't own a Miami Heat jersey.
So
but
dead set. This week, before that person commented, I was thinking to myself, best stitch up would be just throw the Miami Heat jersey on. And I actually contemplated going out and spending $100 just to do the bit. That's
just committed to throwing shade at me.
That's how locked I was. But I'm a busy man, mate. I'm a teacher, you see. We don't get time to stop. I'm telling you.
Couldn't find the time to
overworked
throw
and
in the
underpaid,
chat.
so I'm wearing my fun shirt instead. But it's buy rounds, mate. It's fun.
It is buy round. So obviously, after the disappointment that was the Celtics end to the season, I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that we can have a big round of fantasy footy and we can shoot up the rankings. And like you said, buy rounds. It's time to put the money where your mouth is and see if we can move up the ranks, because it's the time that separates the boys from the men, I've been saying all season. And
don't forget the women and the ladies.
Yeah, the women and the ladies, and just the adults from the children, basically. Sorry for any kids out there watching.
2023, mate. Come on.
Yeah, well, here we go. So, lots happening. Although the teams last night, if we just start there, pretty friendly, as all things considered, compared to obviously the carnage round that we had last week.
Compared to what they could have been as well, because I know a few people, as well as those injury bullets that we copped, I know a few people were waiting on potential rat pasta bullets. I know the traders were pretty happy last night when they found out that their boys were holding. So, and then Chincotta coming back in, a few people would have held
the
there.
Bread is back!
The bread's back.
Let's go!
The rise of the bread.
Good one.
The re-rise.
The re-rise. He's ready to go. He's spent a bit of time back in the oven, and it's all good to go. So very lucky for both of us who, we had some sliding doors moments last week where we were about to trade him out and then decided, let's just hold another week.
If it looks on camera like we're covered in hickeys, we are covered in hickeys because we have been kissed in the last couple of weeks. Like, to be fair, the fact that we held Chincotta and I traded Hollands and you traded Davey, we can't do much complaining recently, so it's been good.
Yeah, and look, I was throwing a bit of shade to some of the people out there this week. I think there was
you were tempted the fantasy gods,
I was tempting some fade out there, and there's still time for it to come back and hit me with that karma bus. But
you were actually being a bit of a prick this week. I heard a message that you recorded for Stato. I don't know if any of our listeners listened to the. I don't know if anyone
that I recorded. Yeah,
I don't know if anyone's listened to the pod. If you haven't, go and check out the boys on the pod. But Mitch left a pretty disgraceful message for Stato that I think he's got some answering to do. So
yeah, well, when you make dumb trades like that,
you're doubling down. You are.
Hey, well, we're going to get to our trades later, and I might have a lot of egg at my face after my dumb trades this week. But yes, obviously.
Warnie's India too in the comments.
Yeah,
there, mate.
Warnie. Hey, mate, don't worry. I got plenty of swag. Don't worry about that. It's all good.
Anyone who says they've got swag.
Hey, and don't get it twisted as well. You have kissed just as much as I have.
Lump me in with you, mate.
Hold on a
I'm
second.
a man of the people. I'm in with the comments. You are out by yourself here. Sorry, mate.
No Sicily, no Sean Darcy, no Ratkins, nothing over there. Just the little old Fiorini who obviously.
Yeah, he sucks.
Yeah, You've still got it unscathed as well. So, obviously, the other news, like we said, Rat Passer named. And just breaking news as well, Seamus Mitchell is going to be an out for the Hawks this week with illness. So, a few people might have been relying on him as a green dot. Round one of the buys has been a good rookie downgrade that I should have gone instead of bloody Roberts, who injured himself in that first game. But anyway, he is out for this round. So, again, a guy who's out round 12, round 13, we probably won't even need him. Is he someone that you trade out this week, knowing he's got a round 14 bye, or what are your thoughts on that, just off the top of your head?
Look, I think he'd still probably hold and then trade at his buy. If he's out with illness, it doesn't necessarily.
You'd hope he's back.
Yeah, that's
week
what
after.
I think. I think he'd be a bit stiff to miss with illness and then not get a run the following week. And then, like you said, round 14 buy. So you're going to get 2 weeks out of him.
Yeah, and hopefully his price still
Sorry,
goes
you're
up.
going to get the 1 week out of him.
Yeah,
And then,
you get the 1 week and his price goes up. I don't think he's a priority trade, but if he does leave you closer to that, 18 or 19 on your field instead of like the 20 plus, I think then maybe if you were already trading a green dot instead of him, you might switch over. I think it's the only instance where you would, but if you're still looking comfortable even with him out, I think that is fine. But otherwise, a pretty gentle teams on a Thursday night.
We needed
so
it.
We did need it. So let's talk about some trade targets.
Yeah. Let's get the graphic up on the screen. So interesting. We were talking a little bit about this just before we threw the headsets on as well. It is an interesting week because it seems as though there could be a bit of sort of divergence amongst the teams. Once you get the 3 trades, I was saying to you, it gives me bloody choice paralysis.
You've got options galore everywhere. You can do 2 downs, 1 ups. You can do 1 down, 1 up, and 1 sideways, and you can do 3 rookie just patch up works.
It almost gives you more opportunity to fuck your team up. And that's my thinking this week is like, how am I going to not fuck my team up as much as I can?
And that's the thing with the buys. Hey, we all get very excited, and this is where the sideways things comes into play, and it is easy. And even the most experienced players have done in the past. Like I remember, even last year, I remember exiting the buys. I had 7 premium defenders, and I had to trade 1 because I miscalculated. I think there was an injury as well where I was not expecting to be an injury. So just a word of caution out there that remember what your team looks like before the buys and when what you want it to look like after the buys as well. So. Yeah. But yes, let's talk about some downgrade targets first because, again, probably one of the more challenging parts of this entire season, really. So downgrade targets, number 1, I still think if you don't have George Wardlaw, he's your guy. He seems the safest. You get him in now, you still got 3 rounds before his buy round. You can trade him out then.
It sucks that you've missed a bit of cash generation, but sometimes I think we get a bit stubborn in these things, don't we? And think, I've missed it. I'm not going to get on. Everyone else is ahead of me. But at a certain point when there's no rookies to go to and he's got that job security, you kind of just got to jump on and ride it for what it's worth, hey?
Look, it could have been worse. He only went up 33K last week, so he's gone up 33K both weeks. 360,000. He's at the price that, like a Bailey Humphreys was the week before I traded him in. I probably should have traded him in. So it's definitely not too late on a player like that. And I'm very confident with his job security. I think he will be there for each of our buy rounds until he is on his own buy at round 15. So I still think he is the number 1 trade target if you don't have him. The number 2 downgrade target I've got here on our list here is, I've just labeled it creative trading.
You're just endorsing what you want to do this week.
I am, and we'll get to what I'm going to do later on the show.
I like the idea of it.
But there's this. I'm just encompassing all different avenues on creating and generating cash. So that can be something like a expensive premium down to a cheaper premium, a mid-pricer who's run up in cash down to a cheaper mid-pricer. So say, for example, you do a Fiorini to a someone like a Humphrey or something like that nets you 120K or something like that. Those kind of little avenues to keep the cash generating and make 100, 150K here and there. Because at least the guy you're trading down to, we're more confident in their job security. We're more confident they're being available for our buy rounds, as opposed to some of these other guys, which if you're downgrading a rookie to or sidewaysing a red dot rookie to, I'm just not confident that they're going to be there when we need them, which is sort of the main point there.
If you can get across to a rookie that potentially, like you said, maybe their job security isn't the best, or maybe they're not going to increase in cash for you straight away, but you still feel like by the end of the buys, you can end up with a full team of premiums on the field just based on your position. Do you tick that off as a strategy? Because by the end of the buys, if you've got a full team of premiums, the bench doesn't really matter. You're kind of just sidewaysing premiums anyway.
The bench definitely matters a lot less post buys because they're only really there for cover and just getting enough of that cash generation to do those luxury trades. We don't need it quite as much. And I agree, and I'll tick that off. It is based on whether you can complete your team or get a full team of premiums by the start of round 16. And I still think that those trades allow you to do that because if you're trading someone like a Wilmot to who's the guy to Mullen from Geelong, I mean you're only making at what's that 200,000 max. Like it's not that much more than some of these other trades.
Yeah.
So it's not as if you're generating a whole lot less cash in those kind of moves, in my opinion. So I think that is still my preference. Number 3, I do have... Now, can you pronounce his first name for me? Because I don't know how to... I didn't watch the game.
It just says here, the Irishman.
The Irishman. Okay, yeah, okay, the Irishman.
Oishan. I've heard it's...
Oishan?
Oishan.
Oishan, okay.
The
Sounds like a weird Irish name.
Motion of the Oishan.
I've never heard of it. We'll call him Connor, just because he's an Irishman. No, but Mullen, I think here from the Cats is probably the number 3 option. Again, I didn't watch the game, so I can't quite comment, but people have said he did look good, broke lines. There's some talk about them wanting him to stay because he obviously is from overseas. There's a risk he goes back to Ireland, so they want to give him some run.
I heard that too.
Number 4, I've got our good friend Daylight at number 4. No one. And then at number 5, I've got the guy debuting for Collingwood and Harvey Harrison. I just have,
Do you have any confidence in that?
I just have no confidence. I think he's come in for a couple of injuries. I want to say that Jamie Elliott is out injured. Sidebottom is out injured as well.
Looks like Shaggy too.
And he just looks like a suspect fella. So again, I like
that's Rich coming from us.
Yeah, no,
I'm
sure he's a nice guy. But again, it's just the old adage of I want to watch the rookie first, especially when he's only going to play 2 games before his bye round. Sup, dude. Harvey, man. I think there's every chance he's here for 2 weeks. He has his bye and he's not going to be there for round 15. And again, we talk about round 15 guys. We want those guys, especially the forward line, which we'll talk about later. But we want those forward round 15 guys, guys who are playing round 15 to actually be there and not be red dots. So, look, if it's your only way of doing the move you really want and you are not relying him to be a decent scorer in your ground this week, then I guess I can tick it off. But I don't know. I like to wait a week at least.
Yeah. Mate, if you've got no downgrade targets, I'm excited to see what kind of spicy moves you're pulling off this week. So
yes.
Talk to us on the other end. Who are we going up to if we're going up this week?
So I'm going to structure a little bit differently this week. So we're going to talk about like a few different brackets of players we're shopping for.
Yep.
We've got premiums. So these are the guys who might not be cheap in terms of what they're going to produce, but we're now starting to shift our focus to the best of the best. So, excuse you, mate.
That didn't come through in the mic, did it?
That definitely did. So number 1 for me is Rory Laird. Now that he's not suspended, I, as a non-owner, will be looking to go there this week.
How about that? The party when he was suspended, and now we're partying again because you get to trade him in.
Either way, I'm a winner.
Wants to have his cake and eat it too.
Yeah, well, sorry, he's number 1 target for me. It was about this time last year that he started his 130 average from the bye rounds.
You've got to get on. If he did that to you again, you just...
I cannot go through another season without having him, and it did me in, cost me a hat last year, and I will not let that be the same thing that costs me a hat this year, even though I'm up for it a bit more this time around. Number 2, I'm going to throw this to you. Noah Anderson / Maddie Rao. I think, depending on how you view the players, you could put one of them in this slot. I, myself, am still a Noah Anderson man. I want to throw your question because I know a lot of people are getting on the back of Maddie Rao on his recent form.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? It's so interesting as well. Like we talked about a little bit on Monday was the fact that Noah Anderson started the season poorly and then popped out a couple of huge scores, went on a little bit of a run, and everyone, Noah Anderson. Drops a couple of poor scores, everyone's back off, and then we're back on, Rao, who's popped a couple of good scores. I think this week, the conditions will suit Maddie Rao. So I think if we just look at it from a this week perspective, Maddie Rao. But I find it hard to see a world where across the course of the season, Matt Rao averages significantly more than Noah Anderson. Are you kind of there as well?
I would agree, and I would... Like, Matt Rao, I think at best is maybe 100 averaging player. I think Noah Anderson has the potential to be a 108, 110 guy if it all comes together, and we've seen him obviously do that for stretches. I just think, like you said, we're trading in a premium. I don't think either of them are super cheap. They're probably priced at about what they're going to give you.
I think Real is like 60k cheaper than Anderson.
40k.
40k.
853 versus Noah Anderson's 894. So 41,000 is the difference. So look, it's not all that much. And I know that one's got a higher break even, one's got a lower break even. But when you're trading in a premium, especially at this time of the year, you've got to be prepared to hold them beyond the end of the buy rounds into that luxury trading sort of area. And I just am more personally confident in Noah Anderson as being a guy that could potentially be a top 8 mid or thereabouts. Whereas Rao, yes, I agree the sugar hit this week might be there, and that's kind of why I expect. I've sort of seen him, and he's playing better, obviously, but I still think that we kind of get a little swept up in it. And his average in the last 3 is boosted by that 142 when he played the Eagles and had 17 tackles when Anderson was getting tagged in that game as well.
Yeah, so, something to keep in mind. A couple of shout-outs to a few people listening along. I think Ollie commented there saying that he's having a beer at work. That's pretty handy.
Hope your boss is either okay with it or packed up for the week. So
Department of Education Queensland but he had my head in a steak for having a beer at work. Probably rightly so, to be fair. And Mini Monk, I think, is tuning in as well.
Oh, shout out to the Monk. He's
he's going
good
well
friend of the show.
He's going well this year.
Yes,
as well,
he is.
Well.
Despite obviously, do you remember he actually gave everyone else 120 odd point head start when he benched English? I think it was in round 1. Didn't have the English, and yet he's still in the top 100.
He's a gun.
And we're lavishing back here in the thousands. So. Anyway, moving on to the extra premiums. 3, I've got Sam Doherty as a number 3 as a bit of a point of difference guy. The asterisk there again is always the round 15, but if it can suit you in the defensive line, it's a little bit easier than like a forward, for example. So I think that's maybe a little bit more easy to manage, but he is a guy that can match it with anyone in the comp and lowly owned, clear top 3 defender in my eyes. Not many people have him, so I think he's a good pod.
Yep.
And number 4, I've got Jack McRae. Again, new forward. The tough thing is that round 15 bye, and because he's a forward, it probably dings him a little bit more.
Round 15 bye, forward obviously helps, but I just can't get out of my mind the Bevo factor. I don't know if I'm putting too much weight in that, but Treloar comes back this week. We've seen, Bailey Smith go on a couple of week run where he gets high CBAs. He was the guy that dropped in CBAs last week. McRae is just as likely to have a similar stint like that. At what point do you just say you can't touch a Bulldog unless it's Bontempelli and obviously English as well?
I think there is... I feel like he's still going to be there in the mix. And because he's probably lowly owned in the top echelon of coaches, we know that he's got a high ceiling. We know that there is the Bevo factor there, and there is risk, obviously, but it's just the fact that even with everything happening this season, he's averaging 97.
Yeah, floor
which
of 80,
I think
as well.
At the moment, if I just do a quick little count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So he's 7th right now in terms of averages for forwards.
So it's not all that risky, is it, really?
So even though he's had like a tumultuous season in terms of his role in CBAs, like he's 7th in terms of that. And so I think that there's upside from here. So it's a risk versus reward play. Because of the round 15 bye, he's down. If it was any other bye, he'd be probably higher on my list.
Would you look at him regardless of where you were ranked, or would there be situations that you wouldn't look at him?
I think definitely if you're higher ranked, he's probably someone I would just want to wait and watch, especially with the return of Treloar. But if you want to make up a bit of ground, play a bit more aggressively, then I'd probably bump him up the priorities. And then number 5 here, I've just got Christian Petrarca. Again, round 14 bye seems to be a relatively easy one to manage for a lot of us. So premium mids in that line, I think, are pretty good targets. But I do really like those top 3 in the premiums. So
now we sort of fall into that was the premiums bracket, I suppose, and now we're going to fall into the discounted premiums bracket.
Yeah.
Now, I really want to give some time to talking about these guys because I know that you're very interested this week. The first guy, and a guy that a lot of people are interested in and talking about, is Darcy Cameron. There's 2 reasons. He's going to start to get back to full game time, and he's also coming up against the Witches' Hats this week.
Yeah.
So this could be immediate sugar hit and long-term cash gain and potentially top 6 forward if we're looking at perfect world.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously, it was someone we were keen on in the preseason, right? Like we were looking at him and as a guy that we were sort of wondering about his split with Big Coxie.
Yeah.
And even in a 50-50 split to end last year, if I just have a look at his stats here. So in the post-buy, he was a 55% CBA guy and averaged, that can't be right. I'm pretty sure he averaged like 92 post-buy, and that was with a couple of stinkers really in there as well. So he has a decent ceiling. The other thing you mentioned as well is the matchup against West Coast. So the number 1 across basically any position in terms of positive matchups.
Yeah.
So he ticks boxes in that regard. He also gives us ruck coverage throughout the entire bye. So if you're already rolling with a Marshall and an English, you can put him into your ruck lineup this week as Marshall's on the bye. And then next week you can put him forward as you've got your 2 rucks there. And then in round 15, he can be on your ruck line as English is on your bye.
So is he a guy that I must bring into the team this week? In your opinion, are you thinking like you got to move heaven and earth to get him in, whether it's down to him, whether it's up to him, we got to get him in? Like
it's hard because I feel like
you'd be filthy if you missed a 130 or something like that, wouldn't you?
You would. I feel as though he's a very good target and he's my number 1 discounted premium. I'm going to stop short and say that you have to move heaven and earth to get him.
Okay.
I don't think anyone really is in that boat at this stage of the year at all, really. I don't think there's any real must-haves at this point. At least that's not obvious to me. I do really like his price point. I do really like the versatility he gives you. He ticks all the boxes, but we haven't seen it yet. Obviously, he's coming off poor games. The time on ground is ticking up. There is a slight potential risk coming up against the West Coast Eagles that they've got the game in the bag. He's still only 3 games coming back from an injury. Maybe they take it a bit easy on him. Mason Cox might have a bit more of the ruck share. So there are risks. Like don't get it twisted that this is like a home run, absolute lock of a pick. But he does tick a lot of boxes. And when you're only paying $660K, it does minimize that risk. Because he is someone that is priced below what he started the year in. And even at the start of the year, we thought he was at least a little bit of value.
The fact that you only really need to find sort of 40-odd K to go from Fiorini to him is pretty silly, to be fair.
Fiorini to him, you can go Ashcroft down to him.
Yeah.
You could do another premium down to him and make a lot more money as well.
You're selling me, mate. You're selling me.
So I like him. He's my number 1 target as a discounted premium. His teammate, Jordan De Goey, is my next guy here.
You mentioned him earlier in the week, and I think you even commented on something on Twitter asking him to
I
discuss
just wanted to get some opinions out there. Sometimes I'll do that if I'm not 100% sold. But I am pretty keen on Jordan De Goey. I'm keen on him as an upside play that if you have a good exit strategy, he could potentially be someone that, as a low-ranked player with some good matchups coming up, he could boost you up the rankings. He's had the role all season. He's a high CBA midfielder. There's been a lot of talk about him playing really well recently from like the general footy media, which I think helps his confidence up against the West Coast Eagles, just like Darcy Cameron, obviously. And his break-even's low. So the game I'm sort of playing here as if someone you're bringing him in is you've got the potential to do a 2-week kind of loan. Get into his round 14. Hopefully he makes some cash, gets close to 800K. If it's not someone you want to hang on to, it's not someone that I feel like you'd feel horrible trading out again.
Yeah.
And it's also someone that if you got stuck with him, I don't think it's the end of the world because he's still someone that has a high CBA role. He can pop off for some ceiling scores, which we've already seen this season.
The other thing too with that is you mentioned that he's had sort of 3 decent scores in a row, and 120, 80, and then 127. Is that's built into his 5 price cycle. Yep. So like, let's say you bring him in, he provides you some buy cover, he only gives you a couple of 90s or whatever, and then you shift off him. You're pretty much guaranteed that he's not going to lose you a heap of cash.
Yeah.
Whereas if you go to someone that's a little bit more speculative in that price bracket, there's the potential that they could drop you some cash as well. So I don't mind it as a move.
Yeah, so like for example, like a James Warple is 716K. It's only 33K to get from him to a Jordan De Goey, and I think that Jordan De Goey's ceiling is much higher. And, you know, a player like Warple's break even is high, so he's going to start losing cash.
Yep.
So it's just kind of like a bridge of the gap kind of a play there, in my opinion. So I like him as a play. Not someone who I want in my team for the rest of the season, but again, just a sort of little buy around play.
Now, don't tell me here you've added this next game just to bloody rub it into Stato again.
Well, I put this next guy in here.
This man knows no ends. He's just rubbing it in. What are you doing?
Hey, Stato knows his stuff, mate. Number 3, Max Gawn. Again, as a discounted premium. Again, I've got him below another ruck option, Darcy Cameron, so I'd probably more than likely be going there if I had like a Sean Darcy. But say Darcy Cameron didn't excite you or you wanted to get another ruck and have Darcy Cameron in your forward line, I do think that Max Gawn is underpriced and he presents probably less risk than another guy we'll talk in our mid-prices later as a ruck option. I just... I don't know. The versatility without that forward DPP sucked in Stato. Just because obviously I didn't say it the other day. I just think it's less exciting, but it is still a play because he's underpriced.
Statesman. Yeah, I don't think you go in there. Like you said, I don't think there'd be many teams that already have Darcy Cameron go there instead. Bailey Dale and Tom Mitchell to round out the 5 for discounted premiums.
Yeah, Bailey Dale's a play, again, short-term, round 15 buy, puts him down the list, but I do still think that he's a guy that could probably average 90 plus from here, and he's priced less than that. So
a lot of these guys just kind of fit the bill. We've heard Selby talk about it a little bit, where he talks about you might pick up this guy to ride through the buys. They've got good job security. They're not going to give you an absolute stinker like a shit mid-pricer or a rookie will, and then you know full well that you're trading him out on the
Yeah, for sure. And then Tom Mitchell at the end here, similar sort of thing with DeGoey. He's just more expensive than DeGoey, has a high break even than DeGoey. So he just kind of is not as an exciting version of him as a JDG is. But again, has a good matchup and JDG.
Is that an actual nickname for him?
Yeah, well, you type it out, JDG.
No, I understand.
Just a short.
I understand that that's his initials, but have you just given him that nickname, or is he actually?
Yeah. Everyone does it, mate. Give it the times.
Everyone calls him that?
Everyone.
Shit,
Give it the times.
Yeah, I've been living under a rock. Sorry.
All right, let's talk about mid-prices. Number 1, look, I had a hard time splitting these top 3, to be honest, but I've landed on number 1, Bailey Humphrey, simply because he's the cheapest. He's also the one with the round 13 buy. Probably of all 3 of these top 3, he probably scores the worst, but he's probably going to be the most useful in terms of adding players to your teams across the buy.
I don't think he's going anywhere either.
I think he's locked in there. Again, similar to a Matt Rao, I think the sweaty conditions suit him.
Sweaty conditions? What?
The soapy conditions.
Soapy? I don't think
you're sweating up at ENT.
But that sounds weird, eh?
Yeah, it does actually. I'll retract that.
The sweaty conditions.
Soapy conditions sounds weird too. Yeah. I've got him there. Number 2, Ben Hobbs. He's come up a little bit in price now, over 600k.
Yeah, he was a guy that I've kind of had in the sights for a couple of weeks, and now I'm getting to the point where I'm like, there's not...
I've got him there. I've got him and Humphrey there because they're forward eligible. And I think this will open up to a conversation that I want to have with you in terms of that round 15 buy.
Yeah.
And specifically the round 15 buy when it comes to forwards. Because if we all know that a lot of teams out there will be heavy on the round 15 buy, but specifically the forward line, there is a lot of good forwards that have that round 15 buy. We're talking about Jack McRae, Bailey Smith, Rosie, Butters, Cogs, Sheasel, Zeeble if they're in your forward line, Timmy Taranto. All these guys who are probably your best in that position have that round 15 buy. So a Bailey Humphrey and a Hobbs, if you needed to, just under 2028. Oh, the humper, he's in.
No, did you see who commented about?
Dadzo. Is that your old man?
I reckon it might be mine.
Oh, okay. Well, shout out to Steve if he's watching.
Masquerading in the comments, but we'll see.
Okay. But yeah, so I think that just that forward status puts them over a player like a Greenwood, who I have at number 3, because if shit hits the fan and we need to hold like a Hobbs past his buy just to get that, because we're not going to have many players that are forward eligible that can sit in our team in round 15. So you might have a lot of other positions all fine, but you might only have 2 forwards sitting there come round 15, and you've only got 2 forwards. That means you've got 4 players not playing. Yep. So that's as high as 18 as you can get on that round. So
that probably bumps them up, Hobbs and Humphrey.
That's why I've got them above those guys. So whilst I think you've missed a lot of the cash rise, I still think it's not too late.
Give me some info here on Greenwood, because it's a name that's been buzzing around all week, and
he's cheap. He's very cheap.
He is very cheap, but I don't know whether I just have a bias sometimes, but for whatever reason, it's just not giving me a heap of confidence. It's a halfway play, isn't it? It's a play where you're going there for a couple of weeks. So how much longer is LDU out for?
I think he's listed as 1 to 2 weeks.
Okay. So you're playing with fire there if he comes back next week? Does that...
The good thing is next week, like, I don't know if you've looked at your team ahead, but I'm going to have 22 players playing next week.
Of course, yeah.
So worst case scenario, you get him in this week. He improves your numbers on your field. He has a low break even at 14. So he's going to be going up a bunch of cash if he's playing that inside midfield role, which I expect he will. I know Shields is back in, but I don't think he affects his role at all. He's more of an outside guy. So I think you're probably getting like an 80 score or thereabouts this week against Essendon. So that's going to be good for another 50, 60K.
Yeah.
So you can bank on that. And then if LDU comes back in, you're scared off, you can trade him out. But it's just the fact that like he is not that much more than a Bailey Humphrey. He's only, 50k more than a Bailey Humphrey. Plus, I feel like he's just a more experienced player with that inside mid-roll.
Tackling machine, too.
Tackling machine. Well. So, look, I think it's good. I think that just, again, like I said, he's dinged down a bit because he's mid-only compared to those other forward option guys, which probably are more suitable for your buys. But he is a good option if you have the ability to trade him out at round 15.
You seen this guy? He's now giving me instructions on when I catch up with him tomorrow. You can just text me, Dad. You don't have to put it in the comment section.
Bring the ladder with you tomorrow. Okay.
Just flick me a text. You don't have to put it in the live.
There you go. You heard it. Bring the ladder tomorrow, Luke. All right.
Christ.
Not sneaky at all there, Steve. You got him right away.
What is he doing?
Let's talk about this next player here, number 4, Cameron Briggs as a mid-price option. So again, for those who've got the Sean Darcy, I think this is the only way you'd be going Cameron Briggs is if you have a Sean Darcy issue. I don't mind it, but I wouldn't be bringing him in unless you've got that kind of an issue.
Reeks of Prusy.
But
Reeks of Prusy.
Again, you can fall back on that break-even game.
It's Kieran, by the way. Kieran Briggs.
Kieran Briggs. What did I say? Cameron Briggs. Oh, I've got the Cameron Darcys about me. Briggsies. Yeah, so I think it's a play. I prefer aforementioned Cameron Darcy.
Yeah.
Just as a guy I think...
Cameron Darcy. Darcy Cameron.
It's Friday, mate. Give me a break.
Sorry, I'm in your head. I'm such a corrector. What a prick.
You are. Like teachers, you are.
Yeah, teachers.
But
Sorry,
yes, I do prefer... Just going to go with DC now so I don't stuff it up. As an option, as a replacement for Darcy, but I think Briggs is an option. And then Jordan Ridley I've thrown in there as a guy. Again, I don't love it. He's 5th on the list. Low break even. Good matchup this week against North. Cheap price. But again, probably someone you want to get out. If not at his buy or shortly after the buys.
Agreed. Yep. I'm just rushing you through because I really want to talk big boys, mate.
All right, let's do it. Let's go, big boys.
Big boys.
The big boys. All right, now.
Love the big boys.
I've got an amazing top 4. Okay? Amazing top 4.
But let's be honest. This week's easy, isn't it?
It is.
You can loop anyone you want. This is the week to be doing the big boys.
Mate, if you've had our boy, what's his name? Max Heathy all year. It's been easy all year.
It's been Loop City, hasn't it?
We've been able to do that, no worries. But this week, I think that there's 4 really good options. Okay, I'm going to give you my order, but I also want you to tell me if you think I'm crazy, if you want to reorder it yourself. But,
I already think you're crazy.
Okay, cool.
Let's go.
Number 1, I've got Zachy Merritt at North Melbourne, Sunday, last game of the round, 4:40 p.m. Number 2, I've got Nick Dacos at West Coast. I think it's the second game on Saturday, 4:35 p.m. Number 3, I've got Bales' boy, Rory Laird at Gold Coast, versus the Gold Coast in Northern Territory.
Sweaty.
Hot as well.
Hot and sweaty.
Rory Laird doesn't like the heat. Number 4, I've got Tim Taranto at GWS on Sunday, 1:10. So I really like all 4 of those options. I feel like you can't go wrong with any of them. But what do you think about the order that I've got them in Merritt, Dacos, Laird, Taranto? Would you personally switch them around?
Well, I can see that you've sort of prioritised a little bit of like matchup over consistency because the guy that everyone's talking about as a perma captain now is Tim Taranto, isn't it? But this is an interesting sort of
revenge
point,
game is also the other narrative that's going around.
Revenge game, and I reckon he'd be up for that as well.
Yeah.
But do you think that you prioritise that consistency of form over the potential for a Merritt to just come out and put a 170 on North Melbourne? I'm pretty sure North Melbourne was the team that he put the 170 on, wasn't it?
Yeah, so he did 135.5.
So obviously you have to look at your loop options as well.
Yeah.
But this week it's pretty much
pick anyone.
You can loop anyone. So there's the option to go Merritt as a VC into Taranto as a VC into Merritt in the last game.
Yeah, because the last game they don't overlap because of the fewer games. So yeah, you could easily do that.
Would you be dirty in that case, Bart, if like Taranto gives you like a 110 and you know that you could put the C going into Merritt who could give you a 170? Like, is there the risk there potentially of that?
Potentially. So maybe you're looking for a bit more ceiling, although, Taranto's coming off a 145, but he kicked 4 goals to do it. Let's also...
Okay, yeah, caveat there.
And
Nick Dacos as well. Like, Nick Dacos is a high scorer, but do we think he has a ceiling of 160, 170?
He's gone 140. He's gone 130s multiple times this year.
But it's the low tackle numbers.
Mate, he don't need tackles against North. He's going to rack it up.
He's playing West Coast, isn't he?
Oh, West Coast.
But
he's come off North. Sorry, yeah.
But yeah, does that put a little bit of a ceiling on it? I don't mind your order there.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So this is my justification. So the stats are actually, and I was surprised when I looked this up for this week, but the GWS Giants are actually tied with Port Adelaide as the hardest team for midfielders to score against.
Really?
That surprised me, but
That
they are
surprised me
tied
too.
as the hardest team for midfielders to score against. And there has been some quotes this week that they're going to be putting some attention into Tim Taranto from the coach as
They
well.
don't want the revenge game.
They want the anti-revenge game.
But weren't Port Adelaide a hard midfield to score against? Typically as well, and he just popped to 140.
Again, he kicked 4 goals. So, look, if he's going to kick 4 goals, then obviously anyone who does that, plus you're playing midfield, you're going to have a great game.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can bank on that happening again. I think he will be very popular as a captain option. Maybe that could come back to hurt me if I don't go him. I don't know. Rory Laird and Nick Dacos, I had very close. Rory Laird, we think about the tackles. He's had like 15 plus tackles his last couple of games. Obviously, in Northern Territory, you think that's going to suit him perfectly. But that heat, man, round 1, I don't know if that's just like something that's stuck in my mind all year.
But round 1, you're a little bit underdone for match
True.
as well. So like, it's maybe you come off this big preseason and everyone thinks, oh, you've just come off a big preseason, you should be fit. It doesn't matter how fit you are in the preseason. When you start playing footy, it all goes out the window. So I reckon there's...
So Rory Laird's probably got a higher ceiling than Dacos. Would you agree?
I think I would VC Laird before I'd... Because this is what you're doing. You're thinking about VCing Laird or Dacos into merit as the captain. So I think I'd VC Laird. Because I know the heat was a factor in round 1, but you're always underdone in round 1 in terms of that game fitness. You know, once it actually comes to getting tackled, tackling, getting up off the ground, like that makes a big difference. So I think that now, 12 games into the season, I think that maybe that's less of a factor. And as you put it, those sweaty conditions, he loves a sweaty cuddle, doesn't he? So
he does. So I think, look, I like what you're saying, and I probably. I've been umming and ahhing about these two all week, and look, I'm going to switch it up. I'm going to go Rory Laird number 2, Nick Dacos number 3, probably because I do think that Laird has a high ceiling, just with those tackle numbers, and obviously the conditions will suit that. So I'll put him number 2, Dacos at number 3, but I think all 4 of those options could be big this week.
Laird
and I think
Maddie,
most people have 2 of those 4 options.
Oh, I'd have to think that most people would. Laird and Maddie Rowell are just going to be like all over each other.
Going to be doing the waltz all game, just cuddling.
We
But if you wanted to go something different, here's the rest of the top 10 shakeout. I've got number 5, Marcus Bontempelli versus Geelong. Number 6, I've got Tom Green versus Richmond. Obviously, positive matchup versus Richmond, but Richmond tag now as well. So keep that in mind as well. I don't know. I'm interested to watch.
That's how you know your shit.
I'm interested to watch that and see if that's something that we're going to be doing every week from now on. 7, I've got Sam Walsh, who plays tonight. Remember, you don't have to VC tonight. You've got all week to VC, so I'm not going to be VCing Sam Walsh. 8, I've got Jordan Dawson. 9, I've got Connor Rosie or Zach Butters. Who would you choose out of Connor Rosie or Zach Butters versus Hawthorn? If you had to pick one of them.
Oh, man. A few weeks ago, it would have been Rosie, but now it's a lot harder, isn't it?
It is a bit harder.
I feel like Rosie has the tendency to fill his boot. Zach Butters is just going to be like a beast of a football player.
Just plays
every
really
week.
well, yeah.
Whereas against a shit team. But then wasn't there a VC that you put on Rosie against a shit team where he fouled you there early in the season?
Yeah, I can't remember. I don't know if I've ever VC'd Butters. Oh, yeah, no, there was. There was a North Melbourne. I think he...
Rosie, not Butters.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, Rosie.
Yeah, I think I'd still go Rosie, but...
I'd probably lean that way too. I've got Rosie there. And then number 10, I've got Doherty versus Melbourne tonight. But again, I'm probably sticking within that top 4. I think most people have them, so I'd be trying to make my decision there. All right, so let's have a look at...
Can we play the big boys thing once again? Now, should we talk about the teams?
I'm just getting that up right now.
No, I've put the spicy takes thing. Let me get that off. Not spicy takes yet. Just woo up there. We're going to talk.
So we've only got the 2 teams, and Harry Himmelberg is in for the Giants. Your boy Josh Fahey, he's out. He's not coming back in. Maybe he's the sub again. I don't know.
That is disgusting. That's disgraceful.
It is terrible.
Pops a 160, gets the call up as a sub, scores 5, and then gets dropped.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, it sucks.
Like what?
Has one kick.
He must be a real shit bloke around the club.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that. That's poor form, in my opinion.
That sucks.
Anyway, so I don't trade him in. Dylan Shield is back in for Essendon. Where's he then named? Is he just on the bench there? Not that it matters. I think he's probably in the forward line with a bit of midfield. So he's in. And then over on North Melbourne, we've got Shields, Taris Thomas, and Darcy Tucker in.
Comment in the section here saying that Taron Thomas named out on parole, and what do you think? Do you reckon he's an option?
No, I'm not going there at this point.
Old man in the comments reckon he is.
Oh, Dadzo. Keep it coming, Dadzo.
Sucker for punishment.
I reckon Dadzo needs to, give us a super chat, or what do you call
Give
them?
us a what?
Give us a
donate.
Yeah, you got to donate to get your comments in there, Dadzo. Commenting too much on that chat there. Nah, keep it coming.
I reckon.
So
he
pretty
wouldn't
stock
know how.
standard there. Pretty stock standard there. Nothing really to talk home about. Let's talk about.
Let's do some spicy takes then.
Your shirt is really vibing those spicy takes this week.
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
it's right on vibe.
Okay, do we have some extra hot Nando's spicy takes?
You give me with yours first.
Okay, my spicy take is going down the road of the doggies here, and I'm backing the Bevo to screw something up monumentally here, because everyone's talking about the McRae DPP, which rightly so, they should be, and everyone's been recently talking about Bailey Smith and his good score. And my spicy take is that they both go sub. I don't know whether to say 90.
Yeah, you writ 80 before, and now you've changed it to 90. You back it out.
I felt like the take was too spicy. I needed it. Do you think I should just go back to 80?
Go
Okay, I'm
go
gonna
balls
make
deep, and if it's sub 90, I'll give it to you.
Go balls. Okay, my spicy take is that both McRae and Smith go sub 80 this week,
Oof.
and Trelaw's back in the middle, and is that even a
Just
spicy
screwing
take?
everyone's plan.
Yeah, because Bevo just.
I
does that
think
anyway.
Trelaw going to the middle is not necessarily a spicy take, but those other two going sub 80 would be, because they'd still be scoring.
Oh, well, McRae's lowest score I just spat over him. Look, McRae's lowest score for the year is about 80, I think it is.
That's
I'd
spicy
actually
then.
be keen to, while I mention it as well, thank you so much to everyone who's tuning in on the live feed. 181 viewers. I think that might
Let's
be like
go!
the
Here we
highest that we've
go.
got as well. And I wouldn't mind hearing everyone's spicy takes. So if you want to jump in the comment
Yeah,
section and
we'll read a few out.
drop a little spicy take, we'll read it out. Mitch will do his, and then we'll see what we've got in the comment section.
My spicy take is to do with a very popular name this week, in that Darcy Cameron goes the highest of all rucks this week. He's the highest scoring ruckman for round 12. So he beats out English.
Put a number on it.
Put a number on it. He goes 125 plus.
Oof. Who's English got this week?
English has Geelong, which apparently is one of his worst matchups of his career, historically speaking. But
Did I see a stat floating around that the Bulldogs haven't beaten Geelong?
You told me this before, and that was
I need to.
incredible stat.
I may just be making things up here, but I think that the Bulldogs haven't beaten Geelong in 10 games or something. Maybe there's every chance I'm completely talking out of my ass, but I thought I saw something floating around on Twitter.
Yeah, if true,
I mean,
that's incrediable, and obviously will help my case, because if they get done in, obviously he probably doesn't score as well.
Okay,
I like this hot take from
what do we got?
FPL Tiger Chincotta to go 90 plus and burn traders. Love it. Let's go.
Kissed.
I hope
We're
you
so
are
kissed.
right.
We didn't really talk about Keezy. Hey, and Keezy, Darcy Cameron, Humphrey, pick 2 for me. That's where this fella's going. What about Keys? What do we think?
No, I know a few other podcasts. I think it was the Pod boys were keen on Keezy. Harmsy was.
Well, it's sweaty work up there in Darwin, and Keezy loves sweaty work.
It is. I don't have as much confidence in his role game to game. I still want to think that Adelaide are playing. There's Dawson and Laird in there.
Yep,
100%.
agreed.
Then you've probably got like just a mishmash of Saligo, Keys, Rochelle. Sometimes even the old fella. What's his name? I'm blanking.
The old fella.
It's like,
All I can think
it's a
of
household name.
All I can think of is Matt Crouch. He's nowhere near it.
I'm blanking at the moment, but yeah, they've got a few guys going through there.
If Keys gets you 3 weeks, he could be an all-time pick, because if he plays in the midfield for 3 weeks, he could give you 120s in those 3 weeks, which could be
he has
all-time.
done that in the past, but I don't know.
There's a chance he plays in there this week.
Look, it's a play. I just prefer the route of Greenwood. Greenwood's playing midfield this week. I feel like there's no doubt about that. At least this week he's playing midfield. The question for him, Sloan was the guy I was talking about, Rory Sloan.
Harrison was on top of it. Thank you.
On your Harrison. like Greenwood's playing midfield. The question is, what is he doing if LDU comes back, when he comes back? And even then, there's a bit of an argument that he could stay in there because obviously you've got a different coach these last few weeks. He's obviously put him in there more so. So I just go that way and sort of think that that's probably the better way. But there is merit to it, I think, especially, again, forward eligible. So,
couple more spicy takes. Tom Green go 180. Harrison reckons. Fucking hope
Jeez,
not.
180.
We've
Biggest score of the year.
got Hobbs to outscore Merritt. And that was Bindi that commented that. You wanted to...
Oh, yeah. I did want to shout out our boy Bindi, who obviously has been a great supporter of the show, has been very generous with his retweets and his donations as well. And I think as of this week is sitting 22nd in the...
You've confirmed that these are the same Bindis.
Well, I'm pretty sure. I think he's changed his name a few times across the season. He was at one point Ashcroft's is his mum, and then now he's Bindi's
Blues, is
Bindi's
it?
Blues, or
Bindi
something
can either
like that.
confirm that that's actually correct, or once again we have no idea what's
But
happening.
no, he's also doing some really good stuff over on Twitter as well. I'll give him a shout out in terms of his Twitter handle as well. At DT Engineered. So he's putting out some good content as well. So
Same people.
Shout
Confirmed.
out
Thank you
to
for that. Much
Bindi.
appreciated.
He's a good guy out there as well. And also just while we're doing shout outs, another shout out to the number one player in AFL fantasy, Jonathan from the Fleabaggers, who he's got a little Richmond jersey next to his name here. So he's a fellow Teaks fan, and he is a Ball Boys. He's leading the way, obviously, in the Ball Boys League, as he's obviously leading the way in the entire comp. And we're cheering you on, Jonathan, in case you're watching. Hopefully you can take it all home and represent the Ball Boys.
Yeah, for sure, in the league. How good's that?
He also has Sean Darcy to deal with this week, so hopefully you make a good decision with your ruck moves there.
We'll see.
Let's answer some questions. So if you've got some questions, guys, start firing them through, and we will get through to them.
Yeah, absolutely. As long as it's not my dad asking me to bring the ladder over tomorrow. Don't ask me that again. Just text me, Dad.
Are you bringing the ladder? Are you gonna?
Oh, I guess I'll have to
honour that request.
Well, he's asked me in the live feed.
Want to go sub 70? Ooh, don't want to see that. No. All right, some hot takes coming on. All right, let's have a look at some questions here. Is Seamus Mitchell out? Yes, he is out with sickness.
I like that question. Who would be priced higher, Luke or Mitch, if I could trade in my team? Go, justify. Who's priced higher?
Writing's on the wall, mate. Right there.
Oh,
right there.
Actually, to be fair, if you want fantasy advice, trade in Mitch. If
you want good times and just a good-looking bloke on your field, then trade in me as well.
I knew you set yourself up for that. That was good, you prick. I'd trade in Mitch if I had the choice to. So that's an easy question. Should we actually answer some fantasy questions?
I reckon you got a low break even, and your price is coming up, mate. So don't worry about that.
Briggs or Greenwood's an interesting one. So, question from Jacob there: Briggs or Greenwood?
I feel like
different positions.
Well, yeah. The other thing with Briggs is you're not getting him on field, except for this week, unless you've got some funky ruck lineup going on.
Yeah.
And you've got Wits in there or something like that. Like a Wits and Marshall kind of combo, then...
So I'd be going Greenwood.
So Greenwood is probably the generic answer without knowing your situation there, mate. But Jacob, so Greenwood is probably the most answer. Unless you've got Sean Darcy, then I can see the merit in Briggs.
This might be one that a few people are tossing up this week, is people that don't own Merritt yet going Merritt or Laird, who, if you had the choice to go either of those guys... Are you going Laird?
I was Laird last week, and I'm Laird again this week because I think he's going to be the better player moving forward. I was Merritt the week before because you got him at the start of this run. But now when you're trading in Merritt, you're only really getting him for this game against the Blues, which is going to be, again, a nice sugar hit. But I think for the rest of the season, Laird averages more. So I'd be more keen to just lock that away.
I think I'm a Laird as well, just like you said, for the consistency over the rest of the season. But there is every chance that Merritt goes 180 this week.
There is, but there's also a chance that in Darwin that, Lairdy goes huge as well. So
yeah,
I think, I just think the Laird's going to be a better pick for the rest of the season.
What do you think about this trade? Because this is something that I could potentially go to. Fiorini to Cameron. What do you reckon? That's Thomas.
To Darcy Cameron. I like it. I think it's an upgrade. I think it provides versatility in terms of coverage of your rucks and forwards. I think Fiorini can go. I think, obviously, we saw last week the conditions up in the Northern Territory don't suit him and it affects his scoring. So before he starts to go backwards in price, I think it's fine to trade him.
I think once we jump off, I'm going to have a few more questions for you about getting rid of him because I think that might be where my mind's at as well. Yeah. I don't mind this one as well. Congratulations to Miles, who's ranked about 900. He reckons it's thanks to us.
Oh, thank you, mate. Well,
don't be giving us
plenty of time for us to fuck that up coming up, so don't worry about that.
No, well done. This bloke's miles ahead.
baby.
That's pretty good, eh? Yeah. No, well done, Miles. Question. He says, Ashcroft to Anderson, Warple to Humphrey, and Davey Jr. to Darcy Cameron. That all sounds...
Okay, run me through that again. Sorry, there's a lot of names there.
That sounds excellent to me. So Ashcroft goes to Anderson.
No Anderson,
I'm guessing.
I'm assuming, yeah.
Goodbye.
Yep.
Warple goes to Humphrey. Great.
Yep.
Perfect. Davey Jr. to Darcy Cameron.
Amazing. Great traits.
Would there be cash
Double
in the bank for
double upgrade, plus you're going to get better buys. Yeah.
That's perfect. No wonder you ranked 900. That's fantastic.
That's not a question. That's a boast.
No, well done, Miles. Thank you for that, and thank you for listening along as well. Who else we got now? That
I saw a question before, but favorite color of Gatorade, Luke. What's your favorite color of Gatorade?
Someone asked that.
Yeah, right here, mate. Favorite color of Gatorade. I'm gonna lead the charge here with the.
Oh, sorry, you used to ask me, but then you could answer.
Oh, I just.
No,
you
do
obviously didn't
answer.
seem like you had an answer.
No, I didn't see it there, but yeah, what's your favorite color?
I'm a blue man. Blue Gatorade. What are you?
I like purple. I like the grape. Is that a weird?
Purple's good. No, purple's underrated.
I think purple's the best one. I don't know whether that's just me, but I always, if I can, I always go to purple. Blue's not bad. What would you pick? Like standard colors: blue, red, yellow. What are you going? You can't have anything else. Blue, red, yellow.
Gatorade.
You going blue?
Oh, yellow's last. Yellow's easily last.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tastes and looks like piss.
Yeah. So
Powerade or Gatorade?
Powerade. Oh, they're pretty similar. I don't know. I feel like I've had more Gatorade in my time, but I don't know.
I'm going grape either way, but regardless, I think.
Yeah, good question. All right, let's move on to a fantasy footy question. Doherty or Walsh? I like the look at that one. What are your thoughts on that? Worried about Doherty management at training this week? That is actually a good point there, Jack. There was some reports about Doherty being managed. How worried about, does that concern you at all?
That's the first I've heard about it because I haven't been really looking at Doc. But before I heard that, my initial answer was go Doherty because he's going to be a pod in that line at this stage anyway. But Walsh just seems like guaranteed scoring, doesn't he?
I feel like...
I didn't hear that Doherty thing. When was that?
Maybe it was like one tweet I think I saw. So I don't think it's like a big thing to be worried about. And I think, especially with your veteran players, half those key guys are managed throughout the week anyway. So I don't know if it's like something that I really would be jumping at shadows at. So I personally would be going Doherty just because of his uniqueness, and obviously he's got the defender status, and he's averaged more in the past. So he kind of ticks all those boxes for me. So I'm Doherty over Walsh.
This is a pretty detailed one here. So, Passer to Greenwood, which would get a rookie off the field, or do you think that Humphrey is a better option to go to? Actually, I'm misreading this question. Perhaps see the one there from Chris.
Oh yeah. One of my trades is Passer to Greenwood, which gets my rookie off the field. Is Humphrey a better option considering we are trying to get rookies off our field during the bye rounds? Well, first of all, Humphrey is a rookie, so.
Yes, that's what I was trying to interpret. What does he mean, Pastor to Humphrey instead of Pastor to Greenwood?
Make more cash. So
I would probably prefer Humphrey, to be honest. Is there more upside? What's the price?
The price is about 50K, so it's not much.
But I feel like if they continue to play Humphrey in this role, there's more chance that Humphrey stays in the role than Greenwood does when LDU gets back. Agreed.
He's probably less reliant on other people being in the team. Yeah. Humphrey, that is. Plus, he's got a better buy around. Plus, he's just, again, it's not much, but it's 50K, and he's forward eligible. So that's, again, we refer back to my list there. I had Humphrey slightly ahead, but I do think that Greenwood probably scores more at least this week.
You have to think so if he's in the middle and he's just tackling.
But it's just beyond that I have a little bit of doubts. And again, round 15 bye. It is luxurious to think that you'll have those trades to trade him out at round 15. Yeah. Like, what if carnage happens? What if something comes up and you've got to hold him and he's stuck there? So
there's a lot of ifs there, isn't there? Yeah,
I think Humphrey just gets the nod for that reason.
Straight one here, Witts or Cameron. I think I know your answer, but I'm going Cameron too. Witts is appealing to some people for that buy round, but Cameron,
how much is Witts?
You're likely to get that sugar hit straight away, and then Cameron's a guy that you're going to be holding with that good DPP as a forward, and potentially he could just go on to be a top 6 forward. I think I'm Cameron there.
Yeah, Witts is 788K, so he's not cheap, and like he's not someone you're going to want, and he's only a ruck. So at the end of the day, we're all going to want English and Marshall. So by getting Witts in now, it's like you're paying up for a premium price player as a short-term move. I'd rather be doing those short-term moves as someone cheaper. So for that reason, it's Darcy Cameron. It's just, despite his good buy, it's just an awkward trade for me to get in Witts.
I've stitched Mitch up here. I almost started, or I don't know if it was you or me, we almost started to answer his question, and then we took a sip of our beer and forgot.
Oh, no.
I feel really bad. I'm going to go back and find what his question is. Mitch. Now that Seamus is out, who do I keep out of him, Ashcroft, Fiorini, or
okay.
Watkins? Sorry, Mitch. That sounds like classic us.
I would be... What's Seamus's break even? Let's have a look. 27. I'd probably be keeping Seamus out of... Well, okay. Well, Mitch, I'll answer your question with another question. How many people do you have playing this week? If you've got 20 or more, I'd be happy to hold Ashcroft and Seamus.
Yeah.
If you've got 18 or 19, I'd be getting rid of those guys who aren't playing this week.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Hopefully we've answered Mitch's question there.
Yeah.
Just realised it just looks like I'm wearing a singlet.
How many do you have playing this week?
35. Yeah, I'm in pretty good shape.
Okay. Hack the system.
Yeah, no, I'm looking pretty good.
Avoided my question.
No, well, after trades, I reckon it'll be 20 plus.
I'll have 20 this week as well, which I think I feel good with 20. 19, I'm not as... I don't feel quite as good about it.
I can't take I got to get a bit of sun on this, eh? It's just like...
Well, you're all about the hair. Let's maybe do a couple more...
question if we live in Queensland or not.
Oh, mate, I don't go outside. It's, we're indoor people. We watch too much footy. Let's do 2 more questions and then we'll wrap it up and let people go and do their trades. Let's get them in. What's this last one here?
Thoughts on this trade? Atkins to random 200k rookie.
Don't love it already.
Ashcroft to Walsh, Wilmot to Humphrey leaves. Oh, well, if it leaves 340k, you probably don't have to go to a random.
Yeah, exactly.
So Ashcroft to Walsh, Wilmot to Humphrey. Yeah, we'll go. Could you then go instead Atkins? What's Atkins' price?
Atkins is, what is he, 500-ish K?
Well, okay, instead of
554.
Instead of straight answering this question, let's answer the question of, do you think that on this buy round, it's appropriate to leave cash in the bank?
It's definitely appropriate to leave cash. It's just about how you're getting there. Like, if you're getting cash by, say, saving an upgrade and going to a Darcy Cameron instead of going to a big dog, or you're doing, like, a triple cash grab kind of a situation because you've already got 20 playing on this round before trades, and that's fine. But if you are trading out players like a Wilmot who is played every game this round to some random rookie who's 200k just to cash up, I don't think that's the way to get the cash because, again, I've said this before and I don't think I've heard anyone else mention it, but next week, most of us are going to have 22 players playing. So your upgrade next week is actually not going to help you that much next week. It will help you if you just get more of your team completed, but
it might only help you. Yeah, it might.
Why
only
not do
help
that this week?
30, 40 points. Yeah, do it this week.
Why not do it this week and get more
benefit?
Benefit in terms of your score because there's more teams on the bye this week than there are.
Do your fix-ups next week?
Yeah. So, in terms of getting cash that way, I wouldn't be doing that.
Okay, last one here. Is Goulden to Cameron to get the cash for Darcy to English or Laird crazy? If not, is English or Laird a high priority? I think Mitch is giving you the big cheers because that is where he's going. And
it is not crazy. It might be crazy.
Well, it might be. We'll
find out. But
your justification there is that even though Goulden's been unbelievable, what he's priced at right now is not what we think he can do for the remainder of the year. So you cash out. You take the fact that he's maybe like 70 to 100k over value, you put that cash on someone else's head, or you take him down to a guy who you think can be pretty close to a top 6 forward anyway, and use that cash to upgrade someone else.
I will say there is risk. There's definitely risk. He's got a few good matchups coming up, so this is something that I am still potentially looking at doing. The other risk is that he is one of the few premium forwards that doesn't have the round 15 bye, and you're going to leave yourself short, and you're opening yourself up if there is carnage between now and round 15 that you might be struggling to get the right amount of numbers for round 15, especially considering that forward line. So that's the risky play of it. But I still think that it is a great way to generate cash because I think if you put Darcy Cameron and Errol Goulden side by side, yes, I'd probably say that Goulden averages more, but it may be like 5 points more, at max 10 points more. Yeah. If I can get someone like a Hollands up to a Rory Laird, well, that's a 40, 50-point upgrade on the other end of it. Plus, the guy I'm training in, I have confidence in his job security. He helps my buys. He helps my coverage of the ruck department as well. I just think that it makes a lot of sense. I know the great man in his podcast today, Selby, said he wasn't keen on it, which gives me a little bit of pause, but I still think that it's a play.
Well, maybe
not for every team, though.
Another one of the great men that you mentioned, Mini Monks, just commented and said, that just be aware that if you do trade him, you potentially want him back by round 15.
You do.
So is there like even a scenario, you know how we talk about trading in premiums that have come off their buy? Would it be ridiculous to trade him out and then him be the premium target that you trade back in?
Potentially.
Do you know what I mean? Like, is that crazy? I know
But
you're
again,
gonna- I know
like if
gonna
you're
have to
trading
pay-
him to Darcy Cameron, a lot of us already have like 6 premium forwards. You might end up in a situation where you've got 7 forwards in your team, which
So
is
it
not
might
the end
be-
of the world as long as you've got the DPP to get them all in your field.
It might be team dependent, is that what you're
It
saying?
might be team dependent. And I also have looked at this situation as well, and this is where I raised before the value of Bailey Humphrey and Ben Hobbs as mid-prices who have the forward status and are not on the round 15 buy. So there might be a scenario where originally I was thinking I was going to be trading Ben Hobbs on his round 14 buy. I might, depending on how things shake up, be holding him for that round 15 so I can move him into my forward line. I move Bailey Humphrey into my forward line, so then I'll have Dunkley, Hobbs, Humphrey, at least 3 guys in my forward line there. Plus I've got Darcy Cameron to cover that round 15 buy. So I've sort of, I'm aware of that as a risk, and if any one of those guys go down or something happens, then I'm in strife, and I will probably have to try and get him back in. But as long as you are aware of the risks, I still, thinking through it, I still think it's a genuine play. I wouldn't talk anyone out of it.
I can see a scenario where Stato's recording a sucked-in video for you in like 4 weeks. I sucked in, Mitch, you idiot. You traded
I definitely could see it.
And he went
100%.
160 for 4 weeks.
Yeah, I can 100% see it. So,
oh, man, that'd be a cracker.
We'll see. All it takes is one Errol Gould and dangerous tackle. I don't know. Who can tell?
Right.
But we'll see.
It's a game of luck. There's so many sliding doors, but we have fun playing it, don't we? So,
absolutely.
anyone else we want to shout out? Or we haven't shouted out the Content Creators Cup.
Oh, the Content Creators Cup. Yes, of course. Do you want to... We've got a little graphic you want to throw on there.
Oh, we do have our
so we don't butcher this.
Little graphic.
So go to this website on the screen down there, guys, if you are keen to go and get the wonderful package there that Tim Guest has arranged for all AFL fantasy players to help you improve your financial knowledge and set yourselves up for a good financial future. I think he's said before that it's usually valued at much, much more. Obviously, we're getting it for free as fantasy players, so check on that one over there. In terms of the matchups this week, who are you coming up against?
Who do I have? I'm going to have to have a look. Who have you got first?
I think I've got from last memory, I've got Dossie. Yes, I've got Dossie, the great man himself on the round 12 buy. So
I think I've got
could be interesting.
Holmesy there.
Oy,
as well.
okay.
So it's a bit of a pod.
Pod v Ball Boys. Here we go.
Thing there. So, but the buys are tough.
Who will have? Yeah, these matchups, these next 4 rounds could be dictated by how many you've got playing, but. Yeah. I'm still going to take bragging rights if I come out on top. And if I lose, I'm going to blame the bias. But that'll do us. I reckon that'll do us there, guys. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. And good luck over this first round. Remember, when we're looking at our buy rounds, remember it's 4 rounds. So don't judge your rankings after this 1 week unless you go out and kill it. Obviously, then
throw the baby
screenshot and brag on Twitter. That's all good. Give this video a big thumbs up. Thanks for watching along, guys, live. And hit subscribe. And we'll catch you guys next week. Laters.